Hey guys, what's up? Hope everyone's having a great day. Okay, so today we're taking a look at the transcript from Johnny Depp's deposition. Now, this was done February 20th, 2020, and also December 14th, 2021. Now, this just jumped because we've only got partials of this deposition, but that's okay. I will let you know when it jumps, and we'll try and figure out what the hell they're talking about when the jumps do happen. So let's get right into it, because again, it's going to be another long one. So here we go. So we got, so we have Ben Chu and Camille, and we have Elaine and Rottenborn, and also Amber. Amber showed up for this one as well. Of course she did. Of course she did. Okay, let's just get right to. So it jumped straight to page 70. So let's just try and figure it out. I did just a little peek. I haven't seen the whole thing. I just did a little peek to try and figure out who the hell was asking the questions. And I do believe it's Elaine. So let's just start off with this question. Do you recall that was a public record filing? Depp, public record filing. Question, your divorce decree. Do you understand that was your judgment of final decree was a public record filing? Ben Chu, objection to the form of the question calls for a legal conclusion. Depp, I've only been led to understand that, well, I remember it at the time. That was why I was able, when she had broken or breached the agreement, when I was able to, in fact, make the first set of donations to those charities myself. But I put it in her name. So I gave the first two to the charities, and then Miss Heard came out and wildly complained about it, saying that I should be charged the double, $14 million, because I was trying to use that as a tax write-off. Question, did you pay any of the $7 million in settlement to Amber Heard because she alleged that you had engaged in DV against her? Depp, no, she dropped the charges. Ben, you may answer that question to the extent that you were not disclosing any attorney-client privilege. Depp, no, it's very simple. She had dropped any charge of violence against me. In fact, there was no, and Lainey had interrupted her, so Ben's like, please stop interrupting him. We're going to call the court. Depp, it's okay. I'm starting to like it. So he's starting to like the fact that Elaine is just interrupting him, because I'm pretty sure he was making sense and Lady didn't like it. Elaine, he runs on a lot and I would like to talk with him. Ben, I would like you to stop interrupting him. Depp, I'm sorry. What have I done? Elaine, he runs on a lot. And Depp, oh, I run on. Do I run on? Elaine, she just goes back into her questions. So I just want to make sure I understand this last answer. So none of the $7 million that you paid to Amber Heard was because of a result of her alleging that you engaged in DV or violence. Is that correct? Ben, and Mr. Depp, I would instruct you not to answer that question to the extent it requires you to divulge attorney-client privilege. If you can answer it without disclosing any communications with counsel, you can. But if you can't, don't answer it. Depp, may I hear the question again? Elaine, can you just have it read back? So the court reporter read it back. None of the $7 million that you paid to Amber was because of it's due to her porcupines. Depp, none of the $7 million that she was awarded in the divorce had anything whatsoever to do with any of her claims, any of that. No. Elaine, you can take that break now. So they take a break, and I think it jumps. So it jumps from 70 to like 107. So this is the new part of the deposition. So I guess Elaine was asking, do you consider Jerry Bruckheimer to be yellow-bellied? Depp, no, I don't consider Jerry Bruckheimer to be yellow. Elaine, do you consider Sean Bailey to be yellow-bellied? Depp, yep. Elaine, why? Depp, because he wasn't man enough to listen. I was involved in 5 films in that series of Pirates of the Caribbean, and I was very lucky to be part of that, and I was very happy. I'm happy still that I was part of that, because I have a character that has made a lot of people smile and happy, and that gives me great pleasure. But when these people who have made upwards of $4, $5, $6, $7 billion, $8 billion on the ration of films that you've done for them, and your character is on the ride in Disneyland in 3 different spots, and in Shanghai, and in Orlando, and all over the place, I found it fascinating that not one call. Nobody was man enough to give me the boot based on allegations, and but it was still okay to leave the supposed wife beater on the rides, and it's still okay for them to sell merchandise of the supposed wife beater, and they can still sell action figures of the supposed wife beater. They haven't taken me off their rides, so I would say that's something rotten in the state of Denmark. Question: do you know for sure that you're not going to be in Pirate 6? Depp: without question. Lainey: and so it's based only on the article that came out sometime after the op-ed? Ben: objection to the form of the question. I think it misstates the testimony, but you may answer. Depp: I don't recall the dates of what went first, how this all went down. I'm sorry. Your question again? Elaine: do you know for certain that you are not in Pirate 6? Depp: oh, I said yeah. Yep, I said no. Elaine: and then I said that based on the article in the newspaper sometime shortly after the op-ed from Amber Heard. Depp: yes, I believe it's from that, and I believe it's from the global barrage of fraudulent claims against me that have flown throughout the world on this thing called the internet and in various magazines and all that. As I've stated earlier, things that she said did. Yeah, I believe, of course, there was no way they were going to let me in Pirates. They were going to bring me into Pirate 6 if someone's out there screaming about, they were going to bring me into Pirate 6 if someone's out there screaming about you being this horrible human being, and then the press backs it up and sells it, Elaine: so you assume that because of everything that's been continuing on in these allegations that you're not going to be in Pirate 6? Depp: I can tell you the God's honest truth right now, based on everything. If they came to me with 300 million and 1 million alpacas, nothing on this earth would get me to go back and work with Disney on Pirates of the Caribbean film. Elaine: okay, thank you. In your complaint, you said at paragraph 5, quote, Mr. Depp's reputation and career were devastated when Ms. Heard first accused him of DV on May 27, 2016, end quote. In what way was your career devastated at that point? Ben: excuse me, what complaint are you referring to? Elaine: his complaint. Ben: could you show it to him? Elaine: no, I don't need to show it to him. I just quoted it. Ben: you don't need to show him a document you're asking him about? Elaine: that's correct. I obviously don't have to. I'm asking him what was your career? Oh, and then it skips again. So, oh my God. Yes, Elaine, you do have to show it to him. Yes, you do. Jesus, Murphy. Okay, so then it skips to page 199. Okay, here we go. Elaine: something on and on and on, blah, 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 suggests that Elon Musk is financing or behind Amber Heard, claiming she has been DV'd and violent and the victim of DV by you. Ben: and just to be clear, Johnny, you cannot answer that if the information came from your counsel. Depp: it's not going to be answered. It can't be answered. Elaine: so the answer would be no. You have nothing other than a communication with counsel. Is that correct? Depp: yep. Elaine: so let's go back. Do you have any evidence of even $1 that Amber Heard has made based on the fact that she has come forward and said she's the victim of DV and violence by you? Ben: objection, asked and answer, calls for speculation, but you may answer that last time. Depp: you want to know if I have proof of that? No, I can't say that I do. I haven't really checked in with her. Elaine: do you have any evidence at all that Amber Heard has received any kind of movie role or opportunity as a result of coming forward and saying that she was a victim of DV and abuse by you? Depp: I don't know the answer to that. Elaine: all right, what do you think your reputation is today? Oh, Ben: objection, that's vague and ambiguous. And then Depp started to talk, but Ben cut him off and said, objection to the form of the question, vague and ambiguous. Elaine: you have contended that you are damaged in your complaint. Your reputation is damaged. What is your reputation? And then it jumps 22 pages. So we start off with Ben objecting. So let's see if we can figure it out. Objection to the form of the question, asked and answered. He had already said that he knew that he was ordered to be here today. Elaine: at 10 a.m. Depp: yes, ma'am. Elaine: were you aware of that? Depp: I wasn't driving. I'm sorry. I didn't make it at 10 a.m. on the spot. Elaine: so it's somebody else's fault that you weren't here at 10. Ben: objection to the form of the question, argumentative. Depp: I cannot. Okay, I'll take the hit. My apologies. As I said earlier, my apologies for arriving late. It was about midnight when I got back, but you don't want to hear about that. Elaine. So let's go back and talk a little bit about your reputation and what was going on in your life back in 2015 and 16. You had a pretty significant financial issue in that time frame, didn't you? Depp. I had been, yes. A lot of money was stolen from me by my business manager, my former business managers, and my former lawyer, Jake Bloom, Joe Mandel, and his brother, Rob Mandel. Elaine, how much money did Joe Mandel and Rob Mandel steal from you? Deb, I was told it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $650 million. Ben, and again, I would instruct you not to answer to the extent that you would have to disclose attorney-client communication, but you can answer to the extent you have information outside of what you discuss with your counsel. Deb, yeah, no, this was something that I was told, and I didn't ever dream that I had made that much money. Elaine, did Ed White tell you that Joel Mandel and Rob Mandel stole $650 million from you? Deb, Ed White was brought in as my business manager to conduct a forensic audit on the Mandels, but prior to that, it was pretty clear that's what had happened, and I engaged them in a lawsuit. Elaine, what do you mean by it was pretty clear that it had happened? Depp, well, when I found out from Mandel in a phone call just after I'd finished Pirates 5, when Miss Heard and I had taken the Orient Express and went to San Francisco on our belated honeymoon, I received a phone call from Joel Mandel, who started telling me to start selling houses and things of that nature, which I found quite surprising since I just finished a film where I had made, as I said, $35 million as a salary. So it didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. And then we had more of a conversation, and then I found out he'd done some extracurricular things. Elaine, like what? Depp, just things that you wouldn't do. For example, if I buy a couple of penthouses in a building and I'm paying full price and he's negotiating the deal, but I pay full price for all of these penthouses, and from that he makes a deal and gets $800,000 cut of his purchase. His and his brother's purchase of one of those lofts downtown in the same building, and they got for $1 million as opposed to 1.8 after I'd pay full price, or for 5 of them. Elaine, anything else? Depp, there are a lot of things, but I don't want to go on a tangent, so ask me specifically what you'd like me to talk about. Okay, Elaine, now did this jump again? No, it doesn't. Okay. Elaine's just trying to get copied. Okay. Elaine, yeah, I'm working on that. I wanted to make sure I wasn't giving you the wrong one. They're talking about exhibits. I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as deposition number 3. Now, you said you filed a suit against Mandel and his Mandel company, correct? Depp, yes, ma'am. Elaine, or the management group? And did Adam Waldman represent you in this endeavor? Depp, yes, ma'am. Elaine, and in fact, Mr. Mandel then filed a cross-claim against you. A couple of your companies, Scaramanga Brothers Productions, and then Ed White and Company, correct? Depp, yes. Elaine, okay, now I'm going to ask you to take a look at the second page, and that actually has page 1, and if you go paragraph 3, I'm going to take you through, just so you know what I'm doing here, I'm going to take you through a number of the allegations in here. This cross-claim was filed in public court, right? In Los Angeles public court? Depp, okay. Elaine, well, do you have any reason to believe that it was not the case? Depp, no, I don't. I'm just agreeing with you. Elaine, so what I'm going to ask you to take a look at paragraph 3 on the first page. And it says, over a 17-year relationship, TMG and Joe Mandel did everything within their power to professionally and competently handle the vast array of transactions, expenses, and demands made by Depp. They used the full resources of TMG and outside professionals to handle his many matters. TMG repeatedly warned and advised Depp to reduce his spending and sell unnecessary assets, but ultimately the decision whether and how to spend his money was a decision for Depp to make. Depp listened to no one, including TMG and his other advisors, and he demanded they fund a lifestyle that was extravagant and extreme. Would you agree with that? Depp, nope. Elaine, in paragraph 4, it says, by his complaint, Depp disingenuously suggested he cannot remember A, where he spent his money, or B, being told by TMJ to stop spending, to remind him throughout the entire 17-year period that TMJ represented Depp lived in and ultra extravagant lifestyle that often knowingly cost Depp in excess of $2 million per month to maintain, which he simply could not afford. Would you agree with that? Depp, $2 million per month to maintain my ultra extravagant lifestyle would be no. Elaine, how much were you spending? Depp, it is possible that in terms of the various salaries that I was paying for the company, my production company, for the people who take care of the various houses, that doesn't per month seems excessive. But okay, if that's what he wants to say, then it's $24 million a year. Elaine, do you believe that's an accurate figure, the $2 million per month? Ben, objection to the form of the question. What are you talking about? This talks about a 17-year period. All you're asking for is which year in that 17-year period? Elaine, I'm asking if what he said here is in excess of $2 million per month to maintain. Ben, for what year? Elaine, you know what? I don't have to answer your question. When did they file it? Ben, if you don't want a record that's clear, that's fine. Okay, answer the question if you know what she's talking about. I don't. Did it jump again? It didn't. Okay. Elaine, in 2016, was it $2 million per year per month? Depp, I'm not going to sit here and agree with Joe Mandel's numbers because it's very clear that Mandel was protecting his ass. Excuse me, pardon, but he was protecting himself. Elaine, all right, you said that. Depp, because you do that when you steal. Elaine, well, and you said he stole $650 million. Was that your net worth if he stole $650 million? Depp, I was told that it was in excess of $650 million since buyouts 2 and 3. Elaine, was that your net worth? Depp, I don't know. Elaine, was it more than $650 million? Oh my God, Elaine, he just said. Depp, I don't know any of that. I don't follow those things. I'm not looking. I'm not in a popularity contest or any competition or looking for more money than anybody else. Elaine, paragraph 5 says, Depp spent in excess of $75 million to acquire, improve the furnish 14 residences, including a 45-acre chateau in the south of France, a chain of islands in the Bahamas, multiple houses in Hollywood, several penthouse lofts in downtown Los Angeles, and a fully functioning horse farm in Kentucky. In addition to property taxes, upkeep, and insurance, all of these residences required a staff of employees to service and maintain. Would you agree with that? Depp, $75 million to acquire, improve, and furnish 14 residences, including all that? No, I would not. I would say that as a man who was covering his misgivings, because the one thing that is not on there is that Joel Mandel did not mention is the fact that there were about 8 or 9 boxes of my records when we were finally allowed to get my records. There were about 8 or 9 boxes that were not there. And then when Ed White asked where they were, the Mandel's answer was, well, there's no paper. There are no files and boxes in those. And Mr. White said, and where are they? And he said, Mr. Mandel said, they're in my head. Elaine, so how much did you spend to acquire, improve, and furnish those 14 residences? Depp, I don't know. But judging from the amount of work that I did not do, it wasn't 70. But judging from the amount of work that I did not do, it wasn't $75 million. Elaine, was it more or less? Depp, I would say it was far less. Elaine, $50 million? Depp, at least. Elaine, okay. Depp, I mean, if I was really going to put something together, then it would look like that. Elaine, paragraph 6. During this same time, Depp spent lavishly on various luxury items, including spending over $18 million to acquire and renovate a 150 luxury yacht. Depp spent millions more acquiring and or maintaining at least 45 luxury vehicles. He spent $30,000 per month on expensive wines that he had flown into him around the world for his personal consumption. Depp also paid over $3 million to blast from a specially made cannon the ashes of author Hunter Thompson over Aspen, Colorado. Depp, right? Elaine, now do you recall saying that if it was actually $5 million when you were in the UK? Depp, it was $5 million. Elaine, so he's low on this one. It was actually more than you spent. Depp, yeah, maybe that's because he was there and he flew on the plane with me, so he got a free ride. And he actually attended the blast off and enjoyed himself. Elaine, do you remember giving an interview to Rolling Stone saying that the $30,000 a month was wrong and an insult and that you spent much more of that on wine? Ben, objection to the form of the question, assumes facts are not evidence, lacks foundation. Depp, I did say that, but in saying that, you're talking about living in a penthouse with Miss Heard, her entourage, Rocky Pettington, and Josh Beard, the beard guy, and their friends, and the 30,000 of wine was, especially when I was out of town, certainly not consumed by me. When I was in town, and if I were drinking at the time, Amber and I would have some wine, but otherwise, that wine was free reign to all her friends, and that's where they went and they got it, and that's what they drank, and they weren't shy. Elaine, so the 30,000 is Amber and Amber's friends they're drinking all this, not you? Depp, it's kind of like sitting down to dinner, buying everyone dinner and saying they're not eating. They're not going to eat theirs. The wine was accessible by everyone, and Amber would. She's not shy about making sure she has some. Elaine, how often was Amber traveling on films during the time you were married? Depp, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. Elaine, and how often did you stay at the Sweetser residence rather than at the penthouse while you were married to Amber? Depp, occasionally when things got to the point where there was no talking her down from her tirades and her violence. There were a number of occasions when I would call Mr. Bett, or I would call whoever security was there at the time, because we had security at the penthouse all the time then. Elaine, my question was how often? Depp, I would have left her about 20 to 25 times and gone to Sweetser to get away from her. Elaine, for what period of time would you typically stay at Sweetser when you left? Depp, typically? There was nothing typical, so I can't say. I mean, if I would leave, well, I left her in the middle of the night before when she went nuts and made it home. Everything was fine, and within 5 minutes, she's in the parking lot, having driven over in her pajamas, and she's crying and she's screaming out for me to come out of the house. Elaine, so, Depp, that happened frequently. Elaine, how many? Were you married for 15 months, correct? Depp, sure. Elaine, of the 15 months, how much of that time did you spend the night at Sweetser? Depp, of all those months, well, for sure between April 22nd, Miss Heard's birthday, and May 20th. Well, third was, no, the 21st was when she had her whole other allegation and incident. That was the 21st. That was the last time I saw her. So I was away there for nearly a month there, right? Something. And prior to that, I would say probably had to leave her premise no less than 24 times. Elaine, no less than 2,000. And how many? Oh my God, Elaine. Depp, 24. Elaine, 24. I was going to say, I don't even think there's many days, but okay. Ben, that must have been really bad. Elaine, if he wants to say 2,000, he's got it. Elaine, so less than 24 times, so that's 24, right? What? Benchu, sorry? What, Elaine? What? Holy fuck. Okay. I'm sorry. Elaine, as opposed to 2,000, right? All right. So of those no less than 24 times, approximately how much of that, how long, what was the average amount of time you spent over at Sweetser on each of those 24 times? I can't believe I'm sorry. I'm still baffled. Less than 24 times. So that's 24. No, less than 24 is less than 24, Elaine. Oh my God. Okay. Depp answers. One time it was maybe 2 or 3 days. Another time it was just 1 day. So it varied depending on the situation and how stubborn either one of us were going to be. Elaine, let's just jump back for a moment because we were talking about it earlier. You said that you left from April 22nd early in the morning, and I think you said 4:30 in the morning and didn't return until May 21st, correct? Yep. Elaine, and I believe you testified earlier this morning when you were telling some stories that, and I didn't mean like that stories, I meant a long answer, that you had told her you were leaving her. Is that correct? At 4:30 in the morning, April 22nd, you told her you were leaving her, correct? You were going to divorce her? Depp, no. Elaine, you didn't tell her that. Depp, no, I didn't tell her I was going to divorce her then. No. Elaine, what did you tell her when you left that day? Depp, I said, don't follow me. Don't hit me. Don't touch me. Don't come near me. I'm getting a few things. Don't follow me. I'm leaving, and I left. And I had believed it was Sean. I believe it was Sean Bett who came up to help me get things out without there being a scene. Elaine, okay, that's Depp. Yeah. I won't continue. Don't worry. Elaine, That answers my question. Okay, so let's go back to this one. Is it true that you had a 150-foot luxury yacht that you spent over $18 million to acquire and renovate? Deb, yeah. Elaine, all right. Is it true that you had 45 luxury vehicles? Deb, nope, no ma'am. Elaine, how many did you have? Deb, I've had about 5 or 6 cars and I have about 8 motorcycles. Elaine, paragraph 7. Depp also spent wildly on expensive collectibles, including millions to acquire and maintain a massive and extremely expensive art collection, including over 200 collectible pieces and works by world-famous artists such as Warhol. Sorry, guys, it's hard to read. Clement, I can't read them. I'm going to screw... Oh, she's just going to screw up the names, as I would too. Many pieces of expensive world-class jewelry and approximately 70 collectible guitars. Depp also spent many millions more over the years on extremely rare and expensive Hollywood collectibles, including, I'm not doing a ... here, Marilyn Monroe, John Dillinger, and Marlon Brando. The collection was so extensive that it took approximately 12 storage facilities and has cost over $1 million additional dollars to attempt to archive. Would you agree with that? Depp, oh, I think he's exaggerating quite a lot. I bought Hunter S. Thompson's archive. Yes, for he had asked me if I would buy it while he was still alive. I said, no, I can't do that to you. And I bought it after he passed away because it was going to be piecemealed out. So I bought it and preserved it. And I have preserved it all. I have preserved it all in a safe place so that it can stand the test of time. Elaine, do your collectibles? Depp, that cost $1 million. That was $1 million. Elaine, okay, cost over $1 million. Do you have 12 storage facilities that you're keeping all those collectibles in? Depp, not that I'm aware of. I know that there's some storage facilities. Elaine, how many? Depp, I've been living in Los Angeles for a long time. I've never been to one, so I don't know. Elaine, do you know how many collectible pieces you have in your art collection? Depp, well, let's see. To pay the taxes that the Mandels never paid to the U.S. government for 17 years, I sold quite a nice collection of Basquiat paintings to be able to pay the government. I'm sure I butchered that. I'm so sorry. Obviously, I'm not an art person. Elaine, do you have 70 collectible guitars? Depp, oh yeah, I have, at least 70 guitars. And the boat, yes, I think I bought it for 15, put a few million into it, and then when I sold the boat, when I was told to sell, I sold it to someone who has chartered the boat who loved it. And so I sold it to them for 22 or 23 million. So I'm one of the only few people. Elaine, is that J.K. Rowling? Depp, who actually made a profit on a boat. Elaine, was that J.K. Rowling who you sold that to? Depp, who purchased the boat? Elaine, yes. Depp, yeah. It was, yeah. Elaine, all right. Paragraph 8. Depp employed a staff of approximately 40 full-time employees around the world, which cost Depp at least $300,000 per month to maintain. Would you agree with that? Depp, nah. Elaine, how many employees do you have full-time? Depp, probably at the office, maybe there were my production company, maybe there were 8. In the south of France, there were like 3. On the island, there were 4. 2 or 3 security guards. That is to say, a security guard with my kids to take them to school and pick them and keep an eye on them. No. 40 employees? No. Again, I think he's searching for the stars. I think he's reaching for the stars. Elaine, was Tara Roberts one of the employees at you? Depp, Tara Roberts is one of the 4 who lives on the island, yes. Elaine, do you know how much you pay her per year? Depp, I don't. Elaine, okay, you've got several companies, don't you? Depp, I have several. What are they? LLCs, and Scaramanga Brothers is one that I believe I get paid through from the films, I believe. And then I don't know what the other. Then there's the LLC that owns the Hamlet in the south of France. And then there's Infinite Nile and a couple of things around that. Yes. Elaine, do you know how many people you physically have on payroll where there's actually getting paid through payroll? Depp, I don't. I really don't. Elaine, paragraph 9, Depp also refused to fly by any means other than the private plane and required in at least a Gulfstream GV or above. Depp's constant use of private planes amounted to an additional $200,000 a month in expenses. Was that correct in 2016? Depp, in 2016? No. In 2000, no. In 2016? No. I didn't have the dough to do that. Elaine, what do you mean? Depp, I didn't have the money to do that. In 2016, when I finished up Pirates and we went on our honeymoon, that was when I got the call from Mr. Mandel when I was in San Francisco telling me that it was time to sell. I have to sell the house in France immediately. You know, I have to. My mom was, at the time, very ill and dying, and I was told that I had to. She'd be in a house without stairs, so I rented a house for her, and it was quite expensive. I was told she had 3 months to live. I rented it and had 24-hour nurses for her. There was no agreement as to the amount of time that we were supposed to be there, so I didn't know what was going to happen with my mother. And basically what happened is Mandel has extended to the period on that rental property by about 6 months without asking me, which ultimately I think it cost us, it was 120 grand or something like that he cost me just because he had decided to extend some lease that I did not need to be extended. Elaine, so did you fly commercial airlines in 2016? Depp, I've flown commercial airlines since 2016 a number of times. I've also flown private a number of times. Elaine, in 2015, did you spend over $200,000 a month in jets? Depp, I would have to look at my working schedule. 9 times out of 10, when you're doing a film and you're going across to Europe or you're going somewhere far away, it is the production's responsibility to get you there because it's not really all that possible for me to go out on the street and stand in line in an airport or go through all that. It can be challenging. It can be challenging because you're essentially, or I'm essentially a novelty, and it does take its toll on you. There are times when you be like, feel normal. I mean, if you don't have anonymity anymore, if you don't have anonymity anymore, like at least to be feel okay and normal. Okay, he just wanted to feel normal. Oh my God. Elaine, in addition, paragraph 10, throughout the years, Depp supported his friends, family, and certain employees at a cost of over $10 million. For example, Depp requested, approved, and expected TMG to play. I knew she fucked it up. She kept saying TMJ. I'm like, that's not it. It's TMG. Okay. Lainey fucked up. For example, Depp requested and approved and expected TMG to pay certain living expenses for his sisters and mother. By way of another example, for over 7 years, Depp funded a startup music label, Unison, which was run by his childhood friend. I take it that's Bruce. Is that Bruce Witkins? Depp, yes, ma'am. Elaine, after years of advising Depp that the venture was not generating revenue, and after expending over $4 million, Depp finally allowed TMG to stop funding the operation in 2015. Is that accurate? Depp, it's not accurate at all. No. I had asked Joe Mandel to have a talk with Bruce Witkin at least a year before, and probably a year before that. Mr. Witkin's very stubborn, and he was very happy with the amount of money that Joe Mandel was giving him every month to run his record company. Mandel did not stop the record company with Mr. Witkin. I had tried to get Mr. Witkin to merge, and Mandel wasn't able to do that. It was a failure, and it had been a failure. That record company and Mandel actually let it continue for another 2 years. Elaine, did you ever accuse Bruce Witkin of stealing from you? Depp, Bruce Witkin of stealing from me? Elaine, yes. Depp, nah. Elaine, paragraph 13. When Depp's spending outspaced his earnings and he refused to change his lifestyle, he was forced to borrow large sums of money to continue living the lifestyle he chose. Every purchase, expenditure, and borrowing for Depp was approved by him and/or Dombrowski, and every check written on his behalf was signed by or approved by Depp and/or Dombrowski. Dombrowski, on behalf of Depp, also signed all of Depp's payments to TMG for management fees. Is that correct? Depp, no. This is leading towards when Depp's spending outpaced his earnings and he refused to change his lifestyle, he was forced to borrow large sums of money to continue living the lifestyle he chose. No, I was forced to borrow large sums of money to pay the United States government millions, tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars because they had not paid my taxes in 17 years. I'd also gotten an $8.6 million tax penalty that I had to pay in the interim during that whole time. So that went to the government at some point without me knowing about it because they had to pay the penalty, but they could postpone them on the taxes for some reason. So, Elaine, do you remember testifying in the UK that Mandel did not file your tax returns for 17 years? Depp, yes, I believe I did. I don't remember if it came up, but it's the truth. Elaine, well, I'm going to ask you to take a look at page 5, paragraph 18b, that quotes from your complaint. TMG never once timely filed Mr. Depp's income tax returns or timely paid Mr. Depp's income tax. Depp, I'm sorry, where are we? Elaine, go to page 5. Very top of page 5. Elaine, and then it goes on. For 17 years, TMG always timely filed his tax returns and, funds permitting, always timely paid his income tax. Depp, I will see if we can produce those. Elaine, well, the court already ordered you to produce them and you did not. Are you aware of that? Depp, I am not aware of that. No. Ben, Mr. Depp, I'm going to instruct you not to answer any questions relating to your communications with your counsel. And I would also note for the record that most of these paragraphs that you're citing were stricken by subsequent orders of the judge. Most of this cross complaint was stricken because there are all kinds of allegations in the complaint that were court struck. I'm just saying. Elaine, Mr. Chu, you can chew. It's a fact. Elaine, make those arguments. You can come back and redirect. Ben, no, I'm just pointing out. I don't know if you knew that or not. I'm not trying to be provocative. Elaine, right. Ben, but I filed the motion. It was granted. Elaine, I think you're trying to coach here, but I think, Ben, no, it's not. Elaine, we have the document, so... Ben, I'm not. I'm just informing you of what happened in to these allegations. You're also aware of what happened in the case. Elaine, so Mr. Depp, you have tax returns. Is there a reason why you didn't produce your tax returns in response to the court order to this case for you to produce them? Ben, I'm going to instruct you not to answer any questions that require you to divulge attorney-client privileges. If you want to talk about document issues, you can address that to us offline, so I'm instructing you not to answer that question. Ben, so move on, please. Elaine, are you aware that we filed a motion for sanctions because you did not produce the tax returns after the court ordered time? Ben, I'm going to instruct you not to answer any questions that require you to disclose any attorney-client privilege, and he's following that instruction, so you may go on to your next question. Elaine, independent of your counsel, are you aware of that? Depp, independent of my counsel, am I aware of that? Elaine, of the fact that we have filed motions for sanctions because you did not produce the tax returns that were ordered by the court. Ben, I would instruct you not to answer. Independent, okay, because attorney-client privilege. Depp, I'm going to take my attorney's advice because I don't want to waste your time. Elaine, my question is independent of your counsel. Do you have any knowledge of that? Depp, I'm sorry, I was just listening to what my counsel said. Elaine, so the answer then would be independent of anything your counsel had. You were not aware, is that correct? Depp, no. Elaine, that's not correct? I asked that badly. Ben, he said no, he doesn't have independent. Elaine, okay, thank you. As long as we're all clear on that one. Now I'm going to flip you back to the page before that, page 4 and paragraph 17. Near the end of it, it says, in October of 2015, months before Depp fired TMG, Depp finally sent Mandel a text message stating, quote, I'm ready to face the music in whatever way I must. I know there's a way to dig ourselves out of this hole, and I'm bound and determined to do it, end quote. Did you send that email to Joe Mandel? Depp, yes, I did. Now, yes, I did. Yeah, sure. That's your answer. Elaine, a minute ago, you talked about the records or lack of records. I'm going to ask you to go to page 5 again, paragraph D. The allegation that you made was TMG failed to maintain proper set of detailed accounting records for Mr. Depp. In handling Depp's matters, TMG maintained meticulous books and records. TMG employed the datification accounting software system, which is the gold standard for business managers in the entertainment business. Every expense and payment was booked, accounted for, and backed up. Do you see that? Depp, I see where it says that, yes. Elaine, okay. Was there a software system that they used? Depp, I don't know what their software. I know a few things of I know their lies, but this is absolutely unequivocally a full-on bare-faced lie. Boxes never arrived. Files did not arrive. There's a great discrepancy between them. And when you receive those things, my apologies that they didn't get to you when you wanted them. But when you do receive Mandel's records and Ed White's accompanying records and the descriptions thereof, I think you'll understand a little bit better about Mr. Mandel and Rob Mandel's statements. Elaine, so your counsel just said a minute ago, you know how this ended. You settled the case with TMG, did you not? Depp, I needed to, it was a question of picking your battles. Just in with regard to what was going, it was already a long and drawn out situation. We're dealing with Joe Mandel, who, starts threatening and destroying me and destroying my career in front of a bunch of different lawyers. Elaine, so how was that settled? Depp, well, it was settled in a sense that obviously they didn't settle because all this was true. They settled because they were looking at very serious legal. Elaine cut him off. What were the terms of the settlement? Ben, now I would just caution the witness that the amount of the settlement terms. Depp, nope, I'm not going to answer that. Strictly confidential. Elaine, but we have a protective order here, and we have allegations, and they all relate. They relate completely to the reputation. And in this case, and Ben, well, I'm going to, Depp, allegations? Ben, I'm going to instruct you not to answer until we go back and look at that. But the agreement is draconian. That's why they settled. It was the terms of disclosing the confidentiality provisions of that settlement agreement are draconian imposed by the other side. And I'm going to instruct him not to answer until I go back and look at it. But we've got 2 more days of deposition. Elaine, all right, we'll go and look at it we'll just go look at it. Ben, yeah. Ben, believe me, I would love to tell you what the terms were, but as I recall, the penalty for disclosing that amount is draconian. We can't do it. If we have to go to Judge White, we will, but I'll get a copy of the settlement agreement. I just don't want him to get in trouble, and I don't want to get ourselves into trouble. Elaine, so in addition to this cross-claim, Depp, is it time? Ben, it's almost. Elaine, yeah, let me just finish this because it's Mandel. Ben, okay, sure. Elaine also filed a complaint of judicial foreclosure of deeds of trust. Do you recall that? Depp, Mr. Mandel? Elaine, well, the Mandel Company. Depp, right, yes. Elaine, was that part of the settlement? Depp, Mandel and his brother, and also there's another person at his company called Lane Dicker. They're also in cahoots. Mr. Mandel had taken out a couple of loans without asking me my permission or asking or talking to me about any of it. One of the loans was from himself and his brother Rob together. They loaned me money and then they were using the houses that I own on Switzer as collateral. When I fired him, he gave me 20 days to give him $5 million or he was going to foreclose on all of the houses based on a loan that I wasn't aware of. He and Jake Bloom were involved in taking hard money loans from a company that Jake Bloom represented and was involved with on financial levels, which was quite against the law. Elaine, was that Tycoon? Deb, Mandel as well. Huh? Elaine, was that Tycoon? Deb, I don't know. Elaine, did you use Gibson, Dunn & Crutcher for that? Deb, I don't know. I don't remember exactly. Elaine, the complaint that was filed for judicial foreclosure was November 6, 2017, correct? Do you want to take judicial notice or do you want me to label it? Ben, I think we should probably label it. Okay, Deposition Exhibit 4. Elaine pulls it up. Ben Chu, just to shortcut this was part of the settlement of the other that was part of this, the TMG settlement. Elaine, so the date that this was filed, if you look on the first page, Mr. Depp, is November 6, 2017, correct? Depp, okay, yes. Elaine, all right, and you terminated the Mandel Company March 14th, 2016, correct? Depp, I don't believe so because 2016, March 2016? Yeah, that could have been it. Yeah, my initial talk with the Mandel was September when Miss Heard and I were in San Francisco. From there, when we went back to Los Angeles, I had extensive meetings with Mandel, and of course, first and foremost, I wasn't going anywhere near the idea of having been taken by them. It just needed to understand the situation. And then he started to tell me that it was sorry guys, hard to read. He started to tell me what that was. So that was in September, October, all through. And then I think it probably it was probably somewhere around March. You would, if it's on record, then you would know for sure, but I guess, sure. Elaine, well, if you look up Depp Exhibit number 3, page 3, paragraph 15. Okay. Elaine, it says, proving no good deed goes unpunished, Depp with no notice of any kind terminated GMG's services in March of 2016. And I know that also has March 14th in there. Depp, yeah. So TMG started in October 2016, started non-judicial foreclosure proceeding against certain of Depp's properties. Elaine, while we're at it, go to page 20 real quick. And then Ben just wanted to remind her of the time. Elaine, yeah, I'll finish up. I just want to finish up with this line That's where it talks. Paragraph 85 has Tyrone Management Services. Is that what you were talking about, right? Depp, sure, that seems like it. Elaine, all right. And then it goes to paragraph 86. At the end of it, it says, Depp was at all times represented by the preeminent law firm Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher. Do you see that? End of paragraph 86, very end. Depp, yeah. Elaine, then flip back to page 19. Page 19. Depp, Tyrone, in connecting with Tyrone, Depp was at all times represented by the preeminent law firm Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher. That is not anything that I was aware of at any point. Elaine, okay, can you flip back to page 19 just real quickly so we can? That March 14th date. There is a method to my madness. Depp, I've never heard of Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher. Elaine, paragraph 84. They'll be really disappointed to hear that. Ben Shu, that would be good for that to crimp their ego. Elaine, yeah. Paragraph 84 says he terminated TMG as his business manager on March 14th, 2016. That's where I came up with that number. Depp, okay. Elaine, do you see that? Depp, yep. Elaine, all right, we'll go off the record. Then they go off the record. Now, did it jump? It jumped one page. I'm not sure. Oh, okay, so that's that. And then we go to volume 2. It's volume 2. You know what? I'm going to cut these into 2 different videos. So we're going to do volume 2 in another video just so they're not so long and drawn out for everybody. So that's it. That's all. Have a wonderful day. Volume 2 is coming at you just as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate all of you. I love all of you. Just have a great day. Mwah.